Hello YouTube! Today I want to talk to you about the 10 best books that I read in 2016. So my first favorite book of the year was The Distance from Me to You by Marina Gessner. This was a book that I read in like the first couple days of the year. I was really sick and I couldn't really do anything else, so I just read like a book a day for 4 days while I was sick. This is a book about a girl who hikes the Appalachian Trail all by herself, and she encounters a lot of struggles and problems along the way, but ultimately has this amazing experience. And I didn't really know much about the Appalachian Trail, and I also have never really read any books about hiking long distances. So not only was this an enjoyable book, I also feel like I learned a lot, and I found out that I really like survival stories, which was not something I previously knew about myself. The next book on the list is The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery. This is a book that I own the physical copy of, but I actually did listen to the audiobook. This is a book about sort of like a crotchety guy who owns a bookstore, and one day he finds this baby just left in the bookstore and ends up raising this baby. And that is a bizarre premise for a book, which is partially what drew me to it in the first place. But I thought this book was a lot of fun. I felt like it was heartwarming and sad and wonderful, and I really enjoyed it. It was a book that I just kind of happened upon, but really was glad that I did. The next book I actually don't have a physical copy of. So that was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is a book that Joe and I listened to together in the car. It was one of the first audiobooks that we did together. It took us the better part of the whole year to get through it because it's long and sometimes we don't always carpool together. But it was really great and definitely worth it. It was one of the first adult fantasy books that I had delved into. It was definitely outside my comfort zone, but I'm really glad that I stuck it out because we've already listened to the second one and have been really enjoying doing this together, and I can't wait for the third one to come out next year. My next favorite book, which is number 4, is The Winter's Kiss by Marie Rutkowski. This was the third book in the Winter's trilogy, and I will say that this was definitely not my favorite book of the 3, but because I love this series so much and because it was so important to me as a reader in branching out into new genres, this book made the list because it represents that for me. I think that while it was a lot slower than the other two, it still wrapped up the series very nicely, and I was very happy to see the characters finally get a breath of relief. Next is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I actually used to have a physical copy of this book, but when I got the audiobook and really enjoyed listening to it, I actually ended up putting it in my free little library because I didn't feel like I needed it in both forms. But this was a really great book. It's just this very sweet story about these two boys who develop this very deep relationship that one of them is very sure is more than friendship and the other one takes a while to get there. And I just thought that it was just so masterfully done. And I just found out, thanks to my friend Mallory's video that she just posted about upcoming LGBTQ plus books that are coming out in 2017, that this book is getting a sequel, which is so exciting. Number 6 on my list is Highly Illogical Behavior by John Corey Whaley. This was another book that I just heard of this year and decided to give a try because it was sent to me, and I really loved it. This is a book about a kid who is agoraphobic and ends up making these two friends who are the first people that he's really hung out with in a couple of years, and the relationships that form between him and them. Also being an LGBT book, I just thought that it was really exciting to see these new themes and types of relationships coming to YA fiction this year in a much more normalized way. This book also had a lot of really fun geek references, and all of that together made it really enjoyable. Number 7 on my list is Mr. Kiss and Tell, which is a Veronica Mars book. This is by Rob Thomas and Jennifer Graham. These books are surprisingly well done for being companion novels to a TV show. I know lots of other TV shows have tried things like this before with varying success rates, but I've enjoyed both Veronica Mars novels greatly. This one was amazing. It's essentially an adult mystery. This book actually tackles really kind of dark and taboo topics like crime, murder, and abuse within the sex and adult industry, and I just really applaud it for doing such a great job with these topics and making you really think about the fact that everybody deserves the same rights. And I really liked it, and I hope they make more of these. The next book on my list is George by Alex Gino. This is a middle grade book about a little boy who feels on the inside that he is a girl, and the book actually uses female pronouns throughout the entire story, and it is about her journey facing whether or not she can tell anyone about this and whether or not she should be able to audition for female roles in the school play, and it was just done in such a beautiful, open way. I think it is so important for the next generation of readers knowing that they're going to be reading things that will help them be more compassionate and understanding to their fellow peers. The next book on my list is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. This is a book that I had on my shelf for a while, and I finally read it and was so upset with myself for waiting so long to read it, because this graphic novel is incredible. It's about a girl named Nimona who ends up becoming the sidekick to a supervillain named Lord Blackheart, and he is sort of a wishy-washy supervillain, and so she encourages him to be more evil and do darker deeds, and all of the characters in this story are phenomenal, and this book had so much heart and was so real that I cannot wait to read it again, and I really truly hope that there are more stories to come about Nimona. This is by far my favorite graphic novel I've ever read. And the last book on my list is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I actually bought this book at the Strand when I was in New York almost 2 years ago now for BEA. It's the first and only book I've ever bought at the Strand. This book has tons of awards, and the movie comes out in January, which is why I rushed to read it, because I actually got to see an early preview of the movie ahead of time. This book is beautiful. It has this really awesome dark illustration within the story, and it's a story about a little boy whose mom is suffering from cancer, and he meets this monster who is visiting him at night and either making the situation worse or helping him. We're not really sure. This book was wonderful. This book was moving and powerful. It made me cry at least 4 times, and I'm very excited for you guys to all go get to see the movie. So those are the top 10 books that I read this year. I'm going to have an honorable mention for Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. The only reason that this doesn't have a place on the full list is that I'm not actually finished with it yet. I'm just past halfway, and I'm really enjoying it, to the extent that I think it might have bumped a different book off this list, but it'll just be the first runner-up. This is a book that's definitely outside of what I normally read, but I've been having a really good time reading it, and I'm just excited about next year and seeing what kinds of new genres and types of books I can fall in love with. These were my favorite books I read. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I talked about in today's video, and also what your favorite books were that you read in 2016. It was a good year for me for reading. I didn't read as many books as I had intended to, but I think I read very quality books, and I'm looking forward to just finding even more books to devour. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.